Greetings to everyone joining us virtually for our webinar this evening. I'm Harry Jansen, co-president of the PAM Atlantic region, and I, along with my executive colleagues, Rebecca Rose, Carol Henderson, Terry Nicotera, and Larry Abernathy, welcome you to this, our first chapter event that we have been planning for some time, Arranging Music for Instruments in Worship, a Practical Introduction. Tonight's webinar topic was one of several that were articulated as an area of interest in the responses we received from the membership to our Atlantic Regional Survey last fall. It's also an area of interest that we thought would be of practical value to church musicians throughout PAM. Many of us have included a variety of orchestral instruments in our worship services from time to time, or even on a weekly basis. Speaking from my own experience, it's not like you can go online and find the exact arrangement of any hymn or choral piece you schedule with the instrumental parts you're looking for that particular week or that occasion. Therefore, with a little preparation, we'd like to walk you through a process tonight that produces an almost instant arrangement, even for those very last-minute situations. We hope you have access to the musical examples that are included in the registration for tonight's webinar. There'll be an opportunity for questions at several specific points during tonight's presentation and also at the end. You'll be able to post those in the chat column. To that purpose, our clinician tonight is Dr. Wayne Fritchie, a musician, performer, conductor, composer, arranger, and music educator. He has taught elementary through college-level music students and conducted a diverse array of orchestral and choral instrumental ensembles. Following 20 years of service as professor of music at Pensacola Christian College, he presently arranges and composes through the J.W. Pepper Company, the Flute World Company, and provides custom arrangements and compositions for individuals, ensembles, and churches. So thank you again for joining us. And at this time, we welcome Dr. Wayne Fritchie. Wayne, we look forward to all that you have to share with us tonight on instrumental arranging.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Harry. I appreciate it. Well, I'm so glad to be here and share what things I've learned over my years of music writing and involvement in Christian education, Christian colleges, Christian schools, and churches. And hope what I share tonight will will be helpful for those in, I guess, enhancing their worship services, but with the use of instruments. And as Harry so correctly articulated, that and I experienced this for all the years that I've been involved, that it's almost impossible or near impossible to find just what you want from that are commercially available. So matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I started arranging many years ago, because I couldn't find what I needed for the players that I had and the combinations I wanted to work with. So that's kind of a little bit of, I guess, my how I got from my younger years of starting to do this and until now. So I guess without further ado, probably get going. So let's see if I can put some of these musical examples up on our screen and just kind of talk through what we have. So let's see if I can share my screen here. And here's the first one, I believe. Does everybody have that? That's looks like an arrangement of Holy, Holy, Holy for flute. And let's see. Just making sure everybody can hear it. That coming through for everybody? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, this is kind of the, I'm kind of starting backwards in a sense. This is the kind of the goal, I guess you'd say, or the end product that that you want to achieve. As you see, it's the basic melody of the hymn, Holy, Holy, Holy. That's basically the first stanza. It's pretty much just straight right out of the hymnal. The melody, and then so that your church pianist would play a 4-measure introduction, could be like the end of the hymn, bum 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 bum, da, 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 da. And then just the same way you do with congregational singing, and then the instrument would come in, And then at the end of the first stanza, the accompanist would play something similar, a little interlude, maybe the last four measures again. And then the instrument would come in with a little embellished melody. And so it's basically the same melody. It just has a few extra notes here and there, and a little more interesting for the player. And then at the end, it's just a little bit, again, the last four measures basically repeated. This is kind of now that's not the only way you could do it, of course, but very convenient, easy way to put together an arrangement. So your last again, so here's the last four measures of the second stanza. Now here's your extended ending. Again, the last four measures again. Now half note instead of a quarter, and then a little flute trill, and then it comes in. And so you've got that little arrangement, and it's just the solo part, of course. But your church pianist would be playing out of the hymnal in the same way that they would play for congregational singing. And most church pianists, they do a whole bunch of other extra stuff when they play. It's not just the straight four parts out of the hymnal. So they would actually have the flexibility and the freedom to play all around and improvise whatever, fill in the chords as they're used to doing when the congregation is singing just super loud and everything. And but anyway, this is the solo part, and this is what it would sound like. I hope this works with the accompaniment playing. Now here your flute comes in. Now here's the accompanist playing their interlude, however they want to do it. And then here's your embellished stanza. But not embellished enough so you don't lose the melody. So you're basically making an instrumental part out of a vocal part. That's what it boils down to. So that's our goal here in the first part of the webinar. So how do we get from nothing, I guess, to this? So let's go back now and pick that up. Now this is put in with the finale program. There are a variety of music notation programs now, and they're all good. I don't know all of them. I only know about, I guess, several. Finale, of course, I've worked with the longest. I started doing this back in, I don't know, we've been, I don't know, 94 or something like that. And it was the early stages of music notation programs. I think it was Finale. It had just come out several years prior to that, maybe 89, 88, 89, I don't know exactly, but and it was the only one then. And so that's the one I learned, and I just stayed with it all these years because I've never had any reason to go to the other ones. Sibelius, I think, was the next one that came out that was, a lot of people liked that. I just stayed with Finale because it was just did everything I needed it to do. And I liked it. And then there are different versions that updated it. Then it just got better and better and better. And the current one is just about, I don't think there's anything that you can't get it to do. Of course, I grew up in the pencil and paper era when you wanted a note here, you wrote it there. You wanted this, that, and the other thing there, you wrote it there. So, but anyway, what I present here tonight is basically Finale doing music notation. And like I said, there's a bunch of other programs, one called Dorico, and I have a friend that uses that, he likes that. But anyway, could be done. These functions are probably, I'm sure, available on all these other programs. So if you happen to have one of the other ones, it's kind of like a language. You transfer, how to enter a file, how to transpose, how to do this, that, and the other thing, put in articulations, dynamics on your program, if you don't have Finale. But I'll just be giving all these examples on Finale. And for those who have not used music notation, I would highly recommend Finale, just again, because that's the one with which I'm most familiar. And like I said, it's done everything that that I've ever needed it to do. And but anyway, I'll stop talking here and get into the subject at hand. So in Finale, we're going to open up a new file, and that's launch window here. And for those, anyway, and then there's a little thing called Setup Wizard right here, and I click on that. And we get a window, and we got a bunch of preset templates for all different things, brass trio, brass quintet, et cetera, all down there. I like to just set up my own, so I usually skip this window, but those templates are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. And as you see, our flute part here is just one stave, so I'm just choosing blank stave, and adding that now, and next. And then you can put in some verbiage here. Our title, Holy. I'm just going to abbreviate here, so I'm not going to do the whole thing. You fill in your subtitle. Let's say in this case, flute and piano, composer, John B. Dykes, arranger, your name. And then we go next. And this is 3 flats. In the most of the current hymnals, it's in the key of D. I learned it in the original key of E flat. And it also, E flat works better for the flute, works better for wind instruments in general. D works better for strings, but anyway, I just chose to do it with the flute because the flute sound that the Finale generates is a real nice one. It almost sounds like James Galway, but anyway, not quite, but anyway. And then we've got 4/4 time here selected, and finish. And there we go. We get our file, or where we're going to start. Now, thinking back to the previous screen that we looked at, it was 2 stanzas of Holy Holy. It was a 4-measure intro, an interlude, and an ending. So it's I think the 1 stanza is 16 measures, 2 stanzas of 32 measures. the four other things, there's another 12 measures, so that's at 44 measures. How many do we have here? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31. So we want 40. So we want to add 13 measures. Hope I did my math correctly there. Add measures. Let's see if we add 13. See if we get. I was never very good at math, but anyway, at least that's the point. But anyway, okay. So here's our piano is going to play these first four measures. So we select our measure tool, as it's called here, measure tool, and we just put a double bar in there. And our first half of the thing is half of the hymn is 8 measures, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's put another double bar in there. And then we got our 4 measure interlude. No, and we need the second half. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Now we need our interludes, 4 measures. You do something funny, finale gives you that bing sound. It didn't like something, but oh well. Wasn't anything serious, I guess. And so that's, and now we're on to our second stanza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we put in our double bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And look at that, we've got our 4 measures at the end. Looks like I did my math correctly. Way to go. All right. Remember there was in the original or in the previous screen, you had like 4 measures, the way like it would look in a player's part, in a band part, or orchestra part. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to this, it's called a selection tool, and select from there to there, those 4 measures. Then I'm going to come down my edit menu to multi-measure rest and over to create, and there's our 4 measures. How easy that was. And we're going to do the same thing for the interlude. Come down here, our edit menu, multi-measure rest, create. There we go. And then those are the only 2. Flute's going to be playing all the rest of the time. Now, one of these PDF I guess handouts you call them. We used to call them handouts. What other name we have when it's online and digital now? Digital handouts. There we go. Okay, so it's a whole bunch of instrument ranges and transpose keys, what the concert pitch, and then the transpose pitch and all that. Flute is in the it's called the concert key, or the same as the piano, and but from a range perspective, it from the way it appears in the hymnal for the soprano voice, its characteristic range is an octave higher, and you notice that in the previous screen. And those of you who are familiar with the flute would relate to that also. I'm going to make all this just a little bigger. This is a zoom window. It's 100% now. I'm going to make it 150. Now, is that too big for other people's screens? I have a 17-inch screen here. Does that fit on everybody's screen? Yeah. All right. So you have something called 2 different kinds of entries. You have a speedy note where you can use your numeric pad and push keys on a MIDI keyboard and plug it in there. I used that when I first started for a while, but I've kind of gotten away from it because the what's called simple note. Just I guess it allowed me to think a little more when I was deciding what notes to put in. So anyway, I'm just so all you do, you've got a palette over here of I hope is that on everybody's screen, that palette of notes and rests and all that kind of thing. You just select the kind of note you want and you just click it in the place you want. And now we need a half note. And quarter notes again. Oops. If you get it wrong, you just push your arrow key down to where you want it. Oops, it should be B flat. And now we need a dotted quarter note. So you push a quarter note and then push the dot on the numeric pad and you get a dotted quarter note. Another dotted quarter note. And then a whole note. Whoops. And then there's a couple playback options up here. You can, this little sideways triangle, you can press that and it plays from the beginning. Of course, you're not going to hear anything because it's just rests in there for now. But when it finally gets to measure 5, then it'll play. Or you can just push the space bar and click what measure you want to start on. And it'll just start there and start anywhere. So there's a variety of ways to get it to play. So that's basically all there is to it here in just entering your notes. And now when it, and I'm not going to do the rest of it there. And let's see. You probably remember there's the first stanza just right out of the hymnal, then the second stanza with some embellishments. Well, a real easy way to do that is I'm going to select that first part that I did, copy it, and then paste it into the second stanza. And because the goal is to have it embellished, an embellished stanza, but have but not get away from the melody, so that the listener still understands what it is. Get a little passing tone there. Okay, now here in the embellished section, I guess what you might say, I don't know if it's a problem, it's not really a problem, but how do you choose your embellished notes? There's really two ways. One is like think da 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 da, just kind of having an idea in your mind what might be kind of a neat thing to do. If you were the flute player, what would be a kind of a fun thing for you to play? And the other thing you have to keep in mind is you don't want it to be a wrong note in relation to what's in the hymnal. So there's something here called the chord tool up here in our menu. And I'm going to click right here. And the first chord, of course, is the E flat major chord. And then you look in your hymnal. This is where those remember those music theory classes you had in college that you wondered, now, why do we have to analyze those chords? Anyway, I won't go into that. I was a music theory teacher for a while. And anyway, moving right along. Anyway, it's a C minor chord. So just put C minor in there. And then this is a B flat chord, I believe. And then this is back to an E flat chord, I believe. And I'm just entering, E flat on my laptop keyboard here. And this is the A flat chord, the 4 chord for those who are music theory oriented. And this is actually a D half diminished seventh, but that's kind of, it's even the computer doesn't like that. So the computer likes F minor sixth instead, which is essentially the same notes, just with F on the bottom as the lower note instead of D. The same notes, F, A flat, C, D, or from the D half diminished seventh. It's a beautiful chord. And so again, music theory, why do we have to learn those? Well, anyway, because it's a beautiful chord, and that's why. And then we're back to E flat, E flat. I think this is a B flat chord. So here you're looking at your keyboard or your hymnal. And this is something I did for my wife a long time ago. I don't know if it comes through, but anyway, she wanted to, not a pianist, but she just wanted to play the melody and the chords. I wrote in the chords in a hymnal for her to do that. So that's essentially what this amounts to. So this chord is E flat again, and it's the B flat chord again. Still a B flat chord. And this is an F chord. Again, for you music theory people, that's the 5. It's actually F7, but if you want it to be F7, you just put, doesn't want to do it for me. So erase it and start again. F7. That's the 5-7 of 5 in the key of E flat. Anyway, now a neat thing about this chord symbol tool, I'm going to click play here at this measure, and so you get the melody, and Finale reads or interprets those chord symbols that you entered, and it'll play the chords along with it. So you can kind of have an idea of what it sounds like. I'm trying to think of, well, I've said a bunch of things now. Does anybody have any questions that I might speak to, I guess, up to this point? Basically entering notes, and the chord symbols, and setting up the basically the form of the arrangement, which is the total number of measures. Any questions so far?
We've got a couple of comments. Ashley said, thank you so much for the instrumental ranges handout. I think we can all second that. That handout is just really helpful. If anybody didn't get a chance to check those attachments that were sent out, give that a look. It's really good. And then also, Kristen says this is bringing back good memories from her theory teacher during her undergrad work. And then we have a question from Heidi. She says, I need to review how to add the double bar. Can we get further into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm okay. Here. Okay. You see where my cursor is pointing now, I hope. I'm going into something called the measure tool. Let me, it's up in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. I'm keeping my mouse on it and it says measure tool. So if I click that, I select that, and now I come down to this measure, whatever number that is, 16, 15, measure 13, and I just click that measure. That selects it. Now, if I double click on it, I get this window where I have a whole bunch of different options. More, about 10,000 times more than I've ever used. The only ones I've ever used is the double bar, the final bar. I think those are the only ones. And you've got double bars going different directions. But here's the double bar at the end of a measure. So I just select that and press OK. And there we get another double bar in there.
Wayne, there's another person that asks, does it save time to use a keyboard for note entry, and does Finale do that?
It can save time, yes. I don't know if mine if mine will do that now. I'm just going to see. That would be it's another reason why yeah, mine's not responding for some reason. But yeah, it's just putting in rest. It's not putting in notes for me. But that's another reason. This particular keyboard that I have, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to like that. But yes, if because all it is you have your, and well, if I were to do it, I have my right hand on the numeric pad, and then my left hand would be on the on a note on the piano. And then, for example, the quarter note is number 5, and then I just push that. Well, first of all, you have to put that speedy note frame on some measure 16 in this case, and you push. Oh, there it is. It did work. It likes it now. And then the 6 is a half note. Oops. And then if you make a mistake, you can, let's see, click on the mistake and press delete. And then we can press play there. So I guess the short answer to it is yes, it is faster. You can see that I entered those first 4 measures of Holy Holy faster than kind of the painstaking one note, find it, click, find it, click, find it, click. So both are very credible options. Like I said, I did that for a number of years before I just went to only doing the speedy note most of the time. But there are some functions that I still use the speedy note for. For example, if I want to put a, let's say if I want to tie in measure 16, 17, measure 18 here, if I want to tie those 2 C's together, I don't in this song, but if I did, I'm in speedy note frame, and I put the cursor on the first note, and I press T for tie, and there it ties it. I put it on the second one, and it'll tie that one also. And here, if I can tie the B flats together the same way. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking.
I could just quickly piggyback on that. The latest versions of Finale now allow you to actually play in real time if you have the metronome that's built into it as well. And then Kristen asked a question about transcribing chords. You can add chords if you play them at the exact time together on the keyboard. It will also transcribe chords for you in the version 26 and 27. Thanks.
Yeah.
And we've
One
also got a question about this flute arrangement. If anyone watching is allowed to use it and take it home to their church.
Yes, they are. Be my guest. One other thing I wanted to mention about the chord symbols. You're probably all familiar with lead sheets. Well, if you probably, again, from the previous screen, it was just the flute part, there were no chord symbols in there. But if you left the chord symbols in, then a guitar player you could have flute and guitar, or let's say a lot of times a praise band or something will only work from lead sheets, so it can be used for that. Any other questions before we continue? Okay, let's see. So next, we want to go here, I think. All right, and we're going to go a little bigger here. Zoom up to 150% again. So this is the completed arrangement all the way through with the chord symbols. So what I did, set up the scores we talked about already. The first stanza, then the interlude, then the second stanza with the embellishments. Let's just talk about the embellishments for a moment. So you had a passing tone, again, passing tones. The C is a neighbor tone, passing tone, A flat coming down. That's why they dropped it down to the key of D, because people like me couldn't get up to the E flat. But anyway, passing tones, same as in the hymnal. Then here, the chords are just outlined in arpeggio fashion, the B flat chord, the F7th chord. Just so coming down again, just a bunch of passing tones down to then E flat, C minor, B flat, and note of the chord. The C's, all this is the same as in hymnal, then and the little trill there, and then a little scale toward the end. So it's basically using the chord symbols as your guideline for what notes to choose. And in addition to just some little, whatever musical ideas you would have that you wanted to, thought would be a nice thing to put in there. And of course, it's going to be dependent on the technical ability of your player. You know, if it's a elementary or middle school developing player, you don't want to get too adventuresome. Keep it fairly basic, so they'll be confident. And but if it's more advanced player, then you can do more things. And it's not bad, even in the first stanza, to put some embellishment in that. There's really no reason not to. And the reason I didn't is just so you can kind of see. And then what I did to get that embellished, as I shared before, I just selected the entire first stanza from here to stops there, and press copy, Control C, and then brought that down to the measures in here, and press paste and pasted it in, and then from that just did the embellishments, and then the ending, same thing. Bum, 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 ba, da. And then instead da 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 da, just extending the last couple notes, and that would be something that the instrumentalists and and the pianist would just work out how they wanted to do some meets a cutesy ending or whatever, or you, the arranger, just deciding what to do. The verbiage here in all of this, and it's all in the handout that this is one of the handouts that you would have. Piano plays first four measures, solo instrument plays the melody, first stanza, little or no embellishment, piano plays the introduction, etc. It's these steps that little coda ending, so that you kind of have that kind of a game plan or point of departure. And then up here, enter the chord symbols with the chord symbol tool. With this one up here, if you're using Finale, and if you're using another program, it's probably a similar function, I would expect. Enables you to hear the chords or hear the melody and chords together without needing to write out the piano part. Very convenient. And as Harry said, there's other ways of getting those chords in there. And the church pianist will play the hymn from the hymnal in the same manner that they're used to doing for congregational singing. And so you've got an arrangement, and for it to give to your instrumentalists, and usually writing out a full arrangement. Much of the work is the piano accompaniment, and a lot of times folks aren't sure how to handle a piano accompaniment. So here it kind of takes that problem out of the equation altogether. Now the next thing that I wanted to talk about is how to use this solo arrangement and simply make it into a duet arrangement. But before I do that, are there any further questions on just this part? What I've said so far? Okay. Well, let's see if I can get my next screen up here. I'm going to have to reduce it a little bit so we can get, no, I guess we can leave it about like that. Okay, so if we just look at this first page anyway, which is the first time through the hymn, you'll notice, even though it looks more complicated, it's really not much different than what we've been looking at. You've got your melody here, and then here in the second part, the violin in this case takes over. My voice is giving out here. So the violin takes over, and then excuse me, then the flute comes in again, and then the violin down here, and the flute, and so forth. So that basically splitting the melody between the two parts, so both of them get to play melody. And let's see if we can get, well, let's see. Now you can, excuse me, you can hear that it's, even with just the two parts, there's no doubt what the hymn is. and there's no doubt what the harmony is. And so you're basically it's two-part harmony, but using that second part to using that second part to actually complete the harmony that's not there with just the melody. Now with the piano, well, here we have it with the piano playing along also. So you can see how that fills it in more and gives it a more of a rhythmic thrust, I guess you'd say. It makes the whole thing to sound fuller. Okay. Now, how do we get from the solo arrangement to the duet arrangement? We're going to go back to our practice screen, what you might say. And so here we have, again, our solo line, but we need two staves. So I'm going into the view menu. I'm coming down to scroll view. And now I get, they call it scroll view, where it's just, it's not, it doesn't look like a part, stave, 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 but it's just one straight line. Let's see. This is something called the staff tool. And so I'm looking to add another staff. So I just click down here and there's another staff, and it puts it in there in the same format as the upper, the double bar in the same place and all. Here I'm going to select all the two handles on both staves. I'm going to come down the staff menu where it says group and bracket. I'm going to add, and then I get a choice of a bunch of different ones. And then I like this one, so and I check OK, and now you get the bracket. Notice the bar lines are now drawn between them all. And now I'm going to go back into my page view. And now it looks, now we've got our rests in the nice places. So the flute plays bum, 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 bum. Now we want the violin to then take over and play this. And so we're going to select that, copy it, Control C, and then select down here and paste it in there. And you probably wouldn't want the violin to play that high, although they can. But it doesn't, it sounds a little thinner than it would an octave lower. So I'm going to press number 8, which is a shortcut for octave down. And then I don't need this stuff up here anymore because I've got it in the violin part. So I'm going to select that and come down my edit menu and clear all items, and then that's gone. So now I've got the melody here and the melody there. And now I'm going to write some harmony. Again, we look at our chords. So we've got C minor. Oh, I'm sorry. E flat first, then C minor, and then C minor, and then B flat, and then E flat, and then A flat. And so here, whatever hymn that you're working with, you'd you do that to give yourself between the chord symbols up here and exactly what's in the hymnal. You choose your other notes. So we've got the root of the chord. So how about if we put the third of the chord? And we want to, this is okay, we can go down, we can get an E flat, makes a nice harmony note for that. So we'll go down to it with a passing tone. And maybe have the violinist play a little, something a little adventuresome, just kind of filling in the C minor arpeggio. And then maybe have the violin be a little more adventuresome. It's an A flat, but I want it to be a natural, so I'm just hitting the plus sign. Oops. And then this is the third of that chord, so this would take me down nicely to an A flat. And maybe we'll have the violin jump up to a higher A flat. I think this was the, yeah. And then we've got our E flat chord here. If we make that a dotted note, dotted G, which ends up being a passing tone. And we get a little more adventuresome here with some 16th notes. So again, I'm just using the chord symbols and just kind of what would be a neat little thing for the violinist to play along with what the flute is playing. And this is what it sounds like together. Okay, now this is probably faster than what it would need to go. So when you put in a file, it usually gives you a default speed of, I think it's quarter note to 120. So I'm going to change it here. With my expression tool, create playback. This is real easy to do if you've done it a time or two. Instead of 120, I'm just making it about just 100. That's probably a nice medium speed. And then and then here, I believe it's the B flat chord. B flat. And this is the E flat chord again. And then the B flat chord again. Stays there, and then we get an F chord at this point. That's our F7th, to recall. And then a B flat chord again. So now, got the melody here in the lower parts. Now we, again, thinking of probably what I'm putting in here is probably too much, but it's just for sake of argument, maybe, I don't know. Let's say we want the flute to trill on that note. So we go into our articulation tool, it's called, and you press and you put T above there and you get it. And again, here we're I don't like that note there. And I'm going to make that one a 16th. And I'm going to make that one a dotted eighth note. It's a D down here, so I have a B flat up here. It's a B flat down there. We'll put a D up there, notes of the chord. And then here's a little it's an F7th chord. F's the root, 7th is E flat, and down to just for purposes of time, we'll put that in here. So here's the and so now we get a second part. Again, it's probably too much embellishment, but just again, just off the cuff here, and basically end up with a duet arrangement. Again, you can leave your chord symbols in or take them out. Go back to that screen where we just were, which is this one. Yeah, so there we go. So again, and I believe this is one of the handouts which shows melody, 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 and of course the chord symbols there, and on to our second page here. And I think I don't think I played this one all the way through for us. It might be still up. Yeah, it's still up. Oops, I lost it there. So I can get it again quickly here. There we go. And then if you wanted to advance it, there's a way to do that. And your piano plays the interlude, and here we go for the embellished section, I guess you'd say. And then, of course, you all have the handout there for the, and then with the verbiage in there, basically explaining all the things that I've just been saying, just goes into them. So an unexpected benefit of this approach to instrumental solo direct arrangement is that the end result will be actually two arrangements, or could be two arrangements, rather than an arrangement for one instrument. And also another interesting thing is that after you've done a number of these with hymns that you're used to doing in your church, if you have these instruments that are playing regularly in your church, they could play these along with the hymn. Even if you do, for example, all 4 stanzas, they could just repeat. And so you get something other than them just playing out from the hymnal parts. That's kind of another neat thing. Either whether it's the solo arrangement or the duet arrangement, and it all fits with what's in the hymnal and what the people are singing. There's one thing that I didn't mention, looking back to the solo, and that is that from that flute part, you could get a clarinet or a trumpet part, or an alto saxophone part, very easily, simply by going into, in this case, like this is I got this clarinet part from the flute part, where you can, let's say you have an alto saxophone player. So I go into this particular window, and it's the transposition area. And so I come down to the major 6th up and 3 sharps, again, which you can see on the ranges and transposition handout. And here we have it in the alto saxophone key. And if you didn't like that, then you just push Control Z, which is undo, and it's back where it was to start with. So you can do the same if you had a trombone, for example. Let's say we get our trombone here. So we can go with the same thing. We go to our transposition window. Trombone is in the concert pitch key of E flat, but so we're back in E flat, but trombone's in bass clef. So we're going to choose our clef tool and put the whole thing in bass clef. Of course, that's too high, so we press number 8, and now it goes. Looks like number 8 didn't work that way. Okay. Let's see. Let me just do that one more time. We'll get our. Maybe it doesn't like trombones for some reason. No, that's just kidding. But this could be for cello as well. So with no transposition. And now I want to select it all, and we go into our utilities menu, and we'll get it this way. I'm going to transpose down 1 octave. Okay, and there it is. But we have to change our clef also. Back to the bass clef. And there's a nice trombone part or cello part that you could have. And well, questions relative to the duet aspect.
No questions. Kristen says, so helpful.
Okay, well, we can go into the next phase, which is adding, it's probably the shorter phase. That's probably, which is adding an instrumental part to an existing choir arrangement. So let me bring up my file for that. All right, this is I'm using one of my own arrangements here, just because I don't have to consider copyright at all. Um, I would expect that virtually any arrangement that you would use, you folks would use, would still be under copyright by, I don't know, Lilliness or Hope or one of the many other ones. And so in order to do that, the legal way is to contact them, tell them what you want to do. You want to put an instrumental part to this particular choir arrangement, and then they would give you permission to do that. I don't know, there may be a fee, there may not be. If you were going to sell it, then there would be probably a hefty charge, but if you're not going to commercially make it available, it's just sometimes might even just be a one-time performance, then they would just give you permission to do that, and then you'd be all set. Could be some of these, especially if you have one of these licenses, could be that it would be part of that. But anyway, it would be, it is something you need to consider doing before you put it in, because that is changing an existing arrangement that is already published. The copyright laws say that should be done, so it's important to do that. Anyway, so this is, again, this is just my arrangement of Wexford Carol. This is the piano introduction. I won't play much of it, just a little bit. Not sure why the choir isn't sounding.
Wayne, if I could just jump in really quick, I'm sorry to interject there. On the copyright issue, the licenses that are commercially available, like CCLI and one license, do not give you any permissions for publicly published copyright pieces that are not sort of in the hymnal domains generally. So that's something you really need to research carefully. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Very good comments. Yes. I think the main thing is to contact the publisher and let them tell you what they want you to do or not do. Let's see if I can get this thing to play with the. Anyway, so it just goes on like that, and and excuse me, just looking at it here, like here we have the F chord, here we have B flat chord, F major seventh, what's this, G minor seventh, back to F, then the E flat major chord, that's kind of the cool chord in the hymn, and back to F major. So again, this is similar to like what the approach of putting the other arrangements together. You have to look at the harmony that's there already, and then write your instrumental part in accordance with that harmony. Now, let's see. Okay, so here's the same thing, but it's with a clarinet part in there. Now I put the clarinet part in concert pitch in this particular example. It's just easier to relate to. But of course, in the clarinet part, it would be transposed one step up in the key of G. But anyway, so here it is from the beginning. And so the clarinet is playing along with the piano accompaniment melody, just an octave lower. And a little different there. Yeah. And So so the clarinet plays along with the piano melody there, and a few extra notes here, just the arpeggio of the E flat chord, then ending on the C, which is the vocal melody pickup. And again, there's no doubt it helps them to get their note maybe. Then bum ba da dum, then a little clarinet woodwind type thing, and then F G A, reinforcing the alto notes, F G A. And resting here. You don't have to have the instrument playing all the time. That's usually good. It makes a nice texture variation. Then here's again the E flat major chord. And so the clarinet is just playing a little counterpoint, and again ending up on the C, which is the pickup here for the voice. And again, your little doo trill thing here in the clarinet part. And then here in this measure, again, we've got the F G A in the alto, F G A in the clarinet. And we're moving right along here to the next. If I get this to spread out a little. It's like we don't. Okay. Just going to reduce this just a little bit, see if I can get it all on. There we go. Okay. Does everybody get that? That second page that on their screen. Okay, so here, this was in the piano accompaniment here at the end of that first phrase, and then the clarinet is unison with that. But then the piano plays this arpeggio stuff, and the clarinet doesn't play exactly along with that, but plays something different, a little counterpoint to it, and then a little counterpoint here, or the same rhythm but different notes, and then ending on an F, which is the pickup to the vocal part, and then here we've got the clarinet playing an E flat, reinforces the bass and the alto notes. Here we've got what's the clarinet's got an E flat, still reinforcing the bass notes. And then A flat, it helps the men to come in on their note. A flat, G, G, A flat, F, E flat, A flat, G, G, A flat, F, E flat. But then it just doesn't stay there on the half note. It continues with a little counterpoint. Some of it's the same as the piano, some of it's a little different. And then the voices come in, and everybody ends on a C, and then which is to pick up to the voice part. Then the clarinet rests, and here we get the FGA and the alto, FGA and the alto. So it's basically there's just a few different considerations, excuse me, which I believe I've put in the, I don't know, I forget how much of that I put in the handout or not, but I've included this complete arrangement for you all, and you're free to use it. You can print out those PDFs and you can make as many copies as you want. I've got the copyright and I'm giving you permission to do that. Be my guest. It's and there's also there's a clarinet part, and there's also a flute part and a violin part, which I'm sure you've seen from the handouts already. But anyway, getting back to the so you want to use your instrument so it I guess achieve several things. One, it just gives an extra sound to the overall texture, which makes it more interesting, just a little more interesting. But you don't want it to be overbearing, of course, because it is basically a vocal arrangement. So you don't want to overshadow that. You don't want to have it so technical or loud or whatever, so that it gets in the way of the actual the beauty of the choir arrangement. But yet it will enhance it. And then also supporting parts, which might be difficult. And you've probably worked with this arrangement before, not this one, but whichever one you're going to use. And so you're familiar with what parts are difficult for your singers. And so you could use your instrumental part to reinforce those parts to help your singers get their notes. And that's another very practical use. And the other thing is you want to have a relatively melodic instrumental part, because you don't want, you want it to be interesting for your instrumental player. You want it to be a fun part for them, so they look forward to playing it, and have and allow for, like in the rest places here, like at the end of phrases and things like that, places for them to be able to play out. And so little Johnny or little Susie comes and they play their instrumental parts, and their parents in the audience, and they hear little Johnny or little Susie play their little part come out. You know, it's just a blessing. And it sounds kind of corny, but it's a blessing. I mean, I can relate to that with my children playing instruments. And let's see, and I want to, well, let me just say one more thing, then I'll entertain a few questions. Let's see. So here's the Wexford, here's the clarinet part. As I said, it's transposed now. Play a little louder. So anyway, that's the way the clarinet part looks. Then using that transposition tool, as we talked about a few minutes back, you could get a flute part. And of course, the flute, as we talked earlier, more characteristic in an octave higher than the soprano voice range. So now you've got, oops. So now you've got a flute part that's basically exactly the same notes, but just in the flute range. And then there's a violin one here too, whatever that is. Violin, here it is. And so there's your violin. One thing we didn't talk about is articulation and dynamics. It's very important to mark those in also. You'll notice on the handout, the parts, they include that, slur marks, staccato marks. And this is a violin arrangement, so this would be bowing. So those of you who are string players, so you start with an up bow, bum, 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 ba da 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 da. And on a down bow. So so those of you who are like I say, string people or whatever, that would be those are considerations. And if you don't really have to worry about that too much, because a lot of times when you mark bowings in, violinists will change them anyway. They don't like the ones you put in. Just anyway. Okay, well, I think that's probably most of what I intended to say. Creating a solo arrangement, then from the solo arrangement, you can get a duet arrangement. And again, both of that go along with the hymnal. And like I say, you may, if you let's say if you just did one. Let's say you had a clarinet player or a flute player or a violin player, and little Susie or whoever, or big Susie, I don't know, anybody. But you'd have you'd meet with them a time or two, and or maybe it might only have to be once, and you give them the part and you play it through and say, well, you might say, well, could we play this as a special 3 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from now, or next week, or whatever, and or just say, I'm not quite sure when we'll schedule it yet, but I'll let you know. And lo and behold, 3 weeks later, whoever you're planning on called you up the night before and said, I've got laryngitis, I can't sing. So you call up little Susie and say, hey, remember that arrangement we practiced? You play it tomorrow? And they say, oh, I'd be so happy to. And there's all kinds of, or if it's a duet, maybe do it for, you call both of them up and say, I want you to play tomorrow, you'll save the day for us. And so anyway, just so many uses. And of course, the adding an instrumental part to the arrangement. So I just hope that all this is helpful to people and thinking about how to use instruments in your service. But any more questions?
I think given what we've covered so far, Wayne, it's a launch point for everyone who's either watching and participating in a webinar or going to be watching in the future. And I think from this point on, for us, we could consider perhaps down the road going into the next phase of this kind of arranging expertise. But I think so far you've covered an excellent amount of ground for everyone to be daring and take on, whether it's simple or more advanced kind of arranging. Just understanding the basic use of the instruments and how they function, how you can tie them in effectively, I think it's been most helpful for us. So unless you have more that you want to share from certain perspectives, I think we've gotten pretty well a lot covered at this point.
Well, thank you for those comments. I'm glad that pray that it will have had that effect, and that the instrumental usage in all your various churches will expand, and because there are so many scriptural references to instruments in worship. Psalm 150 is probably the one that's most well known, but there's so many other ones all throughout the Psalms, and like when Solomon dedicated the temple, and 120 trumpets.
Be fun.
Only 76 trombones, right? And and 110 cornets behind, where Solomon 120. So and so
All right.
So we're instrumentally, we're in good company. But
They are indeed. Yeah.
We've got John saying that they have 9 who play each Sunday, high school students. Are those all trumpet players, John, I wonder? Or are they various instruments probably? We've got several people saying thank you. And I know I speak for all of us adding my thanks. Just a ton of valuable information. We're really thankful. Thank you for the presentation.
well, it's been my pleasure.
Thanks, Wayne. We really appreciate it. For just connecting with everyone further on. So I think this at this point wraps up. Oh, we have John saying he has 2 trombones, 2 clarinets, 2 alto sax, and 3 trombones. Sounds great, John. Look forward to many other opportunities in the future. I want to extend my thanks on behalf of the PAM Atlantic region for all of you who registered for tonight's webinar, and to those watching this in the future. We hope you found this very useful. It's our goal as a PAM executive to see how we can further resource PAM in many different ways, including practical applications and resources and things like that. So on behalf of all of us, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again in the future. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.